All right, ChatGPT, how much does a Kickstarter campaign cost? Prototyping, $500 to $50,000. Advertising can be over $50,000 too. Kickstarter video can be over $25,000. Typical budget ranges from $5,000 to over $100,000. If Kickstarter costs got you feeling overwhelmed, don't worry, I'm gonna break them down in an easy to understand way. I'm Mark from LaunchBoom, where we help creators launch their products on Kickstarter. And since 2013, we've raised over $175 million, so I've learned a thing or two about doing a Kickstarter right. And on this channel, we share it all. So like this video and subscribe to the channel if you want to learn how to launch a successful Kickstarter this year. But in this video, we're talking about costs. More specifically, how much does it actually cost to run a successful Kickstarter? I'll be breaking them down in 5 categories and going deep into each one. To show you exactly how this works, I'm gonna share real examples from 3 awesome campaigns we helped launch. Vicious Gardens, which is a board game that raised $555,000 from 9,400 backers. Death's Nest, an innovative cat bed that raised $468,000 from 3,700 backers. And the Loca Chai Maker, which raised $626,000 from 5,900 backers. But before I dive into the 5 cost categories, let's get something out of the way first. When it comes to cost, there's a difference between starting a campaign and running a campaign. So the first question, how much does it cost to start a Kickstarter campaign? Well, it's completely free. That's right, anyone can create a Kickstarter account and launch a campaign without paying a single dollar up front. The only fees you'll pay are after your campaign succeeds, 5% to Kickstarter and 3 to 5% for payment processing. But here's the thing. While starting is free, running a successful campaign is a completely different story. So the more important question is, how much does it cost to run a Kickstarter campaign? Let me show you exactly what I mean using Vicious Gardens as an example. Ross spent 3 years developing this game. He could have just thrown up some basic photos and hoped for the best, but instead he invested in his campaign. The result? Over $500,000 raised. But how much should you invest exactly? Well, it starts with understanding the 5 core cost categories of a successful campaign. Let's begin with the first one, product photography. High quality product photos are absolutely critical to your success on Kickstarter. Let me show you exactly what I mean using our 3 successful campaigns. First, let's look at Vicious Gardens. Ross combined stunning visuals full of character and wit to showcase his game. As a professional designer himself, he knew that beautiful artwork would drive home the game's unique personality. Next, let's look at Death's Nest. Their clean layout and compelling product shots immediately showed how their innovative cat bed sits neatly on a workspace, solving a real problem for cat owners who work from home. And finally, check out the Loca Chai Maker. Their imagery perfectly captures how easy and beautiful it is to use their product and shows exactly how their product solves a real problem. Now let's talk about how much all these photos will cost you. You've got 3 main options: DIY photography from $100 to $600, product photography services from $500 to $1,000, and professional photographers from $750 to $2,500. Let me break down each option. First up, the DIY route. If you absolutely must go the DIY route, you'll need to invest in at least a decent DSLR camera, a tripod, basic lighting, and a white backdrop. Now, total investment will be about $600. But real quick, I will say that most modern smartphones like an iPhone, Samsung Galaxy, or Google Pixel will be able to take pretty great product photos if you practice a bit and you have good lighting. This could save you from having to buy a DSLR camera. Next, let's talk about using a dedicated product photography service. These are companies that have productized their service offerings. For example, a company like Suna can provide professional studio photos for $149 up front and then just $39 for each photo you want. Here's how it works. Ship your product to their studio, direct the shoot remotely in real time, get fully retouched photos back. Next up, hiring a professional photographer. Yes, having a professional photographer is going to typically be more expensive, but in many ways it can be less risky overall. A good professional photographer will act as a creative partner and make sure your product really shines in your photos. Now, typically you can pay photographers for a half or full day of shooting, and they will let you know how many photos they can retouch and send to you after they finish the shoot. Loca Chai Maker used a professional photographer photographer for their campaign, and you can see how good their photos turned out. The investment in professional photography helped convince customers this wasn't just another kitchen gadget, it was a premium solution to a real problem. But regardless of which option you choose, there are certain types of photos you'll always want to get. Think of your product photos like a pyramid. At the base, you need crystal clear studio shots. Think of these like the glamour shots, where you shoot your product on a white or colored backdrop and highlight every angle and feature. In the middle, you need location photos. These are like the studio shots where your product is front and center, but now instead of being on a white background, your product is in the environment that's intended to be used. You want your prospective customer to be able to imagine themselves using it. And at the top, you need action shots showing your product at use. These are best to showcase motion and interaction with your product. For example, look at Vicious Gardens campaign. They showed clear studio shots of the game, location photos showing it on a shelf, and action shots of people actually playing the game. Skip any level of this pyramid and your campaign could collapse. Now that you understand product photography costs, let's move on to something equally important, your campaign video. I'm gonna go out and say it. Nowhere have I seen creators waste more money than on the campaign video. I've seen too many overproduced mini documentaries which are more about boosting their ego than actually selling their product. The point of your campaign video is to sell, so it should be thought of like an ad. For instance, take local chai maker's campaign video. Like any great ad, they started it with a great hook.
Tired of the mess? Tired of the waiting? Tired of the cost? Or are you just tired of bad chai?
Then after the hook, they go right into the solution.
Meet the local chai maker. Making authentic chai at home has never been this easy or this good.
Of course, they present Loka Chai as a solution and continue to explain why for the rest of the video. Now, let's talk about how much a campaign video will cost you. You've got three main options. DIY, which is $100 to $500, studio freelancer, which is $1,000 to $5,000, and a professional agency, which is $5,000 to $15,000. First up, shooting it yourself. If you must go the DIY route, here's what you'll need. Use the DSLR camera you bought for your product photos or even your smartphone camera. You'll need a decent lav mic, you'll need basic lighting like a softbox, and a tripod and video editing software. Now, the total investment will probably be around $500. Next up is hiring a student or freelance videographer. This is where a lot of creators can find that sweet spot between quality and cost. Now, when working with a student or a freelancer, you'll typically pay $1,000 to $2,000 for shooting, $500 to $1,000 for editing, and $500 to $2,000 for extra services. Now, the total investment typically comes between $2,000 to $5,000. Finally, let's talk about hiring a professional agency. There are quite a lot of professional video agencies that specialize in crowdfunding videos. That specialization can be really helpful in making sure you get a great video, and they usually offer packages that can bring down the costs versus a more general purpose video production agency. What I really want to make clear here is that some creators spend $50,000 plus on a video, and that's way too much. In fact, spending more than $15,000 on your video usually leads to diminishing returns. And most first-time creators should be spending quite a lot less than that. All right, now you understand video costs, let's move on to something arguably even more important, your campaign page design and copywriting. Hey, real quick, if you want to go even deeper into everything I'm talking about, you should check out my book, Crowdfunded. It's actually the best-selling book on crowdfunding in the world with 4.7 out of 5 stars from 326 reviews. I've included a link below to get it free on audiobook. Just click the link in the description and I'll send it to you for free. All right, back to cost category number 3. This is where I see a lot of creators make a huge mistake. Their campaign page is an afterthought when compared to their video. But the thing is, way more people will see your campaign page than your video, which is why I think it's even more important. When it comes to creating a high converting campaign page, you have to get two things right. 1, great copywriting, and 2, great graphic design. Look at how our 3 successful campaigns designed their pages. First, Vicious Gardens. Ross used witty copy and bold visuals to convey the strategic depth of his game. Next, Desk. Their clean layout and compelling headlines immediately communicated how their innovative cat bed solves a real problem for cat owners who work from home. And finally, Loka Chai Maker. Their page beautifully balanced between showing the traditional roots of chai making and their contemporary solution. This represents their brand mission of being rooted in tradition, but reimagined for today. Now, let's talk about how much this will cost you. Again, you have 3 main options. DIY from 0 to 100, freelance professionals 1,400 to 3,200, and professional agencies over 5,000. First up, DIY. To write the copy, I recommend looking at other successful campaigns on Kickstarter and modeling how they organize their page. This will serve as your campaign page template. Then you can fill it in yourself or use tools like ChatGPT to help you out. I find it pretty helpful to have ChatGPT write a draft and then go in and clean up the tone to match the brand voice. After you write all the copy for your page, then you can fill in each section with supporting graphics, photos, and GIFs. Take the product photos you got before and insert them into the page. Take the campaign video you got created and cut up certain parts of it into GIFs. Now for the graphics, I recommend using Canva. It's free to start, but the pro version costs about $15 per month. Canva is not going to be as powerful as professional design software like Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop, but with it, you can still create professional looking designs. I personally use Canva every single day, and I'm constantly surprised by how powerful it is for the cost. Next up, hiring freelance talent. This typically involves two key people, a copywriter from $600 to $1,200 and a page designer from $800 to $2,000. Of course, you could do the copywriting yourself and hire a graphic designer or vice versa to save costs. Finally, let's talk about working with an agency. Agencies will be your one-stop shop to getting your page created. So instead of having to find a freelance copywriter and designer separately, they'll just handle it all for you. But because of that, they'll charge you even more, even though the quality may be pretty similar to freelancers. All right, now let's talk about something that can make or break your campaign, your advertising and marketing strategy. This is where things get really interesting because no matter how amazing your photos, video, and page are, they don't matter if nobody sees them. Let me show you exactly what I mean using real numbers from our 3 campaigns. Desk Nest raised $165,000 in just their first day, Vicious Garden $67,000, and Loka Chai Maker $169,000. How did they do this? Well, it all comes down to their pre-launch advertising strategy. For example, let's look at Loka Chai Maker's numbers. Before they launched, they used pre-launch advertising to get 22,000 email subscribers and 4,000 VIP reservations. These are people that upgraded to VIP to get the best discount by paying $1 in the pre-launch. But how much did they spend? Well, to start, they had a $2,000 budget for testing. That's the budget we recommend at LaunchBoom because with that budget, we're able to show creators who they should target with ads, what their best performing ads are, and how much return on investment they will likely make on their campaign. This gives creators confidence to keep spending in the pre-launch. Let me show you Loka Chai's actual metrics. After the $2,000 test, they were seeing email signups for under $3 and VIP reservations for under $10. Once they saw these numbers working, we recommended that they scale up their advertising. So that's exactly what they did, going from spending $75 per day to $900 per day. Before they went live, they had spent $31,000 on pre-launch ads. By the end of their campaign, Loka had spent $60,000 total on paid advertising, raising $626,000 from over 5,900 backers. So does that mean you should spend $60,000 on your ads? Definitely not. There is no exact number that should be spent. The correct amount depends on your financial goals and what type of return you are getting on your ad spend. In general though, if advertising is performing well for first-time creators, they typically spend 10 to 20% of whatever they raise on ads. So that'd mean if a creator were to raise $100,000 in total, they may spend $10,000 to $20,000 on ads. All right, now let's talk about the final cost consideration, campaign management. At this point, you might be feeling a little overwhelmed, and you know what? That's completely normal because running a successful Kickstarter campaign is like running a mini business. For example, look at Vicious Gardens. Ross had already spent 3 years developing his game alone and created something beautiful. But when it came to the marketing strategy for launching it, he knew he needed some help. For Desk Nest, Scott was already a multi-time creator. This was actually his 4th campaign, but even with that experience, he felt like some extra support would go a long way. And for Loka Chai Maker, both founders had demanding full-time careers. Anish was general counsel at a major company, while Nikhil was involved with multiple businesses. So they wanted someone to hold their hand through the entire process. So how do you manage all this? Well, once again, you have 3 options. Self-manage, which is 0, guided support, 4,000 to 12,000, and full service agency, which is 25,000 plus. Usually people opt for self-management when they have more extra time than money. Creators who go this route typically take longer to launch because there is just so much to learn and manage. They have to become proficient in photography, videography, copywriting, page design, marketing, project management, customer service, and here's the catch. Even if you're great at 1 or 2 of these things, you probably aren't an expert at all of them. This is why many creators consider hiring an agency to manage their entire campaign. A full service agency can help with all those things I just listed out, but here's the drawback everyone needs to know about. A good full service agency typically charges at least $25,000 for their services. Plus, you'll need another $25,000 minimum for advertising spend, and they take an additional commission on all the funds raised, usually somewhere between 5 to 15%. Why so expensive? Well, you're not just paying for expertise, you're paying for an entire team of professionals, copywriters, designers, marketing experts, project managers, plus all the other overhead costs that a bigger company may have. That's why a full service agency only makes sense if you've got a big budget and are ready to spend $50,000 plus on campaign management. But what if you're somewhere in the middle? What if you want expert guidance without the full service price tag? This is exactly why we created the Launchboom Accelerator program. Instead of doing everything for you, we work with you to create and manage your campaign. Look at our 3 example campaigns. Vicious Gardens raised $555,000, Desk Nest raised $468,000, and Loka Chai Maker $626,000. All 3 use Launchboom Accelerator, our guided approach rather than paying for full service management. With Accelerator, they got one-on-one calls with my team, access to our software launch kit to build out their pre-launch funnels, all of our proven templates from the past decade of launching products, and access to a community of over 1,000 other product creators just like them to get more feedback, ask questions, and of course, celebrate the wins. If you go this route, you can save money by doing some of the work yourself, still get professional guidance, and learn skills that you can apply to scaling your business and future crowdfunding campaigns. Remember those 2 questions we started with? How much does it cost to start a Kickstarter campaign and how much does it cost to run one? Well, the first answer is a no-brainer. It costs absolutely nothing, zero, zilch, nada. That's right, you can start a campaign without spending a single dollar. But the second question, that's where it gets interesting. Can you run a successful campaign with no money? Well, it's not impossible, but it's pretty unlikely. Because here's the truth. You're gonna need some investment in those critical elements we talked about. High quality photos and videos, professional page design, and most importantly, advertising. But here's the good news. You can significantly reduce these costs if you're resourceful and willing to put in some of the work yourself. Again, that's what Ross did at Vicious Gardens, Scott at Desk Nest, and Anisha Nikhil did at Loka Chai. Your campaign costs could be as low as a few $1,000s or as high as $50,000 or more. It's really up to you and your approach. But if you're still unsure about what your campaign needs, just click the link below to chat with my team and we can get you pointed in the right direction. We can help you figure out exactly what investment makes sense for your product. Also, if you like this video, please hit that like button below to save it and subscribe if you want more stuff like this. Speaking of more stuff like this, YouTube thinks you'll like this video right on over here, so click on it, give it a watch, and I'll see you on over there.